seeing that our communities are safe. Thank you.
Can you give us a better idea about motive?
At this point,
Go ahead. Also, I know there's Spanish media here. When I start questions and answers, I'll say a statement in Spanish at the end for our Spanish media. Go ahead.
so at this point, our investigation, based on witness statements and the background of those that we've identified, we believe this to be a dispute between Mr. Hussle and Mr. Holder. I'm not going to go into the conversations, but it appears to be a personal matter between the two of them. In regards to a dispute, and I'll leave it at that. I'm going to ask you to understand that we have identified Mr. Holder because based on yesterday, what we've learned in the first 24 hours, we believe him to be the responsible individual for this killing. And I have a responsibility, we have a responsibility as law enforcement to work and ensure that the public's made aware of that, as well as our officers and other law enforcement who may come across this individual who is armed with a handgun and willing to use such violence. We're working closely with the district attorney's office, and I do not wish to prejudice this case or undermine its success by going into too much detail relative to the facts and circumstances.
Did they have any other ties to one another?
Again, they are known we believe they were known to each other.
Did your team show up at hospitals that had been shot last night? Is that true?
So let me clarify, let me talk about what we know today about the events of last night. So the vigils, I was at that scene yesterday. I'm proud of the work again of our interventionists and prevention, our faith leaders that were there to orchestrate and support and kind of organize that spontaneous vigil. And the conduct of the vast majority of people was well. They're grieving and they're trying to struggle through that. About a little after 8 o'clock last night, it appears, based on the information we have today, that an individual in the crowd was armed with a handgun. That he produced that handgun as a means of displaying it or brandishing it or showing it. We have no information that he meant to, we have no information right now that he shot anyone with it, but that another individual there, seeing that and recognizing the danger of that, attempted to disarm him. And in that struggle, that caused obviously panic in that group of hundreds of people and a cascade or stampede, if you will, of people expecting hoping to leave and not suffer any injury. As they fled that location, we had a series of falls and trips and injuries from the glass and other materials that were there. And that was the vast majority of the injuries that we saw. Were cut injuries from falls, sprains, ankles, and so forth. We did have one individual who reportedly was stabbed. They do not have a description of who they believe stabbed them, and we're operating that a stabbing occurred, and we'll continue to investigate that. Later, about 11 o'clock last night, we have two women who arrived at a hospital, initially reported a different location and stated that they had been shot. They later then articulated that they were at the vigil when the shooting occurred. We had a commander on scene at the event when this event unfolded. That was 50 feet away from where the vigil was occurring, and we do not have any reported gunfire being heard. We will continue to investigate the nature of the injuries the two women suffered. I'm not questioning their account, but at this point, I'm lacking information that a shooting occurred. What is critical, and I'm so thankful, again, is the conduct of restraint by our officers who took a number of bottles. We had a sergeant that took sutures to his hand from a serious cut of items that were thrown at the police. Our officers exercised tremendous restraint and worked closely with various representatives of the community and coalitions to establish and reestablish control and the safety of the people that were there. Over the night, we have worked with Tony Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, with our Mayor's Crisis Response Team, with Ms. Tremblay from the Mayor's Office, and faith leaders to clean that area, to remove the trash and debris, to package or safeguard the items of memorial that were not damaged for the family, and to reestablish again a process in which people who wish to visit that memorial, that vigil, are allowed to do so in an organized manner. The police department will remain in the area. Our officers will remain on standby. But I'm proud of the work of our community activists and organizers as they organize and administer and allow LA to grieve. And really, people from across the country have responded to this location, our effort to pay their respect. And we hope to see that last night is the last night of any such of instance that we saw.
Keisha, you were looking for anyone else in that business, car or anyone else may have been involved?
Yes, we do believe the driver of the vehicle we're very interested in identifying and apprehending that individual, investigating their involvement and their culpability for this murder.
Is it just the two of them at this point?
I'm going to say yes. At this point, the only public announcement I'm going to make is that these two individuals, Mr. Holder and then the female that was driving the vehicle that afforded him an escape from the location, are primary interest. But let me caution anyone that would give Mr. Holder, or they know the identity of that driver, and would aid and abet them from being found. We will pursue and vigorously prosecute them for that harboring.
Yep, definitely. You just as guilty.
Haven for this individual. He poses an imminent risk to public safety, as well as should face justice in regards to his actions.
You want to make it very clear, you said, with regard to the idea of whether the shooting involving Mr. Hussle was gang-related or not. So as far as you are concerned, it is not?
Well, I'm not going to, there's a turn of phrase when you say gang-related, gang-motivated. We know Mr. Hussles has represented his earlier involvement in membership with the street gang in Los Angeles. We believe Mr. Holder is a member of a street gang. I'm not going to identify street gangs by name. That I don't believe that is an appropriate thing for a law enforcement professional to do, or executive. But the aspect of the nature of the dispute is not, to our information, anything relative to rivalries between gangs, but rather a dispute between these two individuals.
Is there anything else you can tell us about the suspect as far as any aliases? Was he also a rapper?
So I'm going to limit our remark. We'll provide more information as it develops to his background. Again, the most important thing is his identity, and to locate and apprehend him. I wish to provide him every fair right to due process.